In the blink of an eye, pro football can be transformed in weird and wondrous ways. Within the well-structured universe of this popular sport, there exists a dimension where fantasy dissolves into reality.
Myra straight back to pass. Looking. Now stops, throws, completes it to Kilmer up at the 30-yard line. Kilmer driving for the first down, loses the football. It's picked up by Jim Marshall, who's running the wrong way. Marshall is running the wrong way.
Bradshaw running out of the pocket, looking for somebody to throw to, fires it downfield, and there's a collision. It's caught out of the air. The ball is pulled in by Franco Harris. Harris is going for a touchdown for Pittsburgh.
Sometimes pro football is like the Bermuda Triangle. Strange and unexpected things happen that can't be explained.
Pizarchik can just fall on the football, and Pizarchik fumbles the football. It's picked up by Herman Edwards. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. 15, 10, 5, touchdown Eagles. I do not believe what has occurred here, ladies and gentlemen. I do not believe what has occurred here, ladies and gentlemen.
During my film career, I've unleashed the Tingler and unearthed the tomb of Ligeia. I've devised the flight plans for the Raven and the Fly, and designed the floor plans for the House of Wax. Strange tales indeed, and yet every one of them was the product of some screenwriter's feverish imagination. But the tales that I'll be introducing during the course of this program are also strange. But these stories didn't originate from the realm of fiction. They belong to the province of fact. For the next hour, I'll be your guide on a journey that will extend far beyond the beaten track of pro football. We'll explore bizarre terrain, where trails have been cleared by snowplows and refrigerators, where wrong-way runs are the accepted mode of travel, and where road signs have been etched by the hand of fate. The first leg of our journey brings us to that fine line that exists between becoming a hero and winding up at zero. We're about to cross that line, just like the characters in the opening chapter of Strange But True Football Stories.
Heroes possess iron will and steely nerve, but some have also revealed feet of clay. Although number 70 Jim Marshall ascended the heights of heroism, he took a detour through the murky depths of missed opportunity. At San Francisco in 1964, the Vikings defensive end began the game in heroic fashion by forcing a fumble that teammate Carl Eller returned for a touchdown. But while Marshall demonstrated a keen sense of how to disrupt an opponent, his sense of direction wasn't so sharp.
Myra straight back to pass. Looking. Now stops, throws, completes it to Kilmer up at the 30-yard line. Kilmer driving for the first down, loses the football. It's picked up by Jim Marshall, who's running the wrong way. Marshall is running the wrong way, and he's running it into the end zone the wrong way. Thinks he scored a touchdown. He has scored a safety.
He came running down the sideline, and he was just jumping up and down, full of joy. And I was the first one to greet him. And I was so disheartened and disappointed, and here's my friend Marshall coming down the sideline full of glee. I said, Jim, he ran the wrong way.
After that occurred and the game went on, it was like the fans were not in tune with what was happening on the field. There was a sound in that stadium that I've never heard before or maybe ever hear again. It was like we were in hive of bees because everybody was talking and they were kind of chuckling, and this noise went on for 15 minutes after this occurred, and it was so unusual.
Jim Marshall wasn't the only NFL great who blundered before he blossomed. The legendary storybook career of Colts quarterback Johnny Unitas contains a peculiar prologue. When Unitas threw his very first pro pass at Chicago's Wrigley Field in 1956, he looked more like a lug than a legend. Johnny U's initial toss was transformed into an instant touchdown by the Bears' J.C. Caroline. During Baltimore's 58-27 loss, Unitas didn't throw many of the downfield bombs for which he would become famous. But in another bizarre twist to his NFL debut, he did throw a downfield block for Lenny Moore. The last pass, thrown by Dallas's Roger Staubach, provided an odd epilogue to his imposing myth. In a 1979 playoff defeat, the Miracle Man, famous for engineering cowboy comebacks, delivered his final toss to chunky guard Herbert Scott, who wasn't even an eligible receiver on the play. A hail of yellow flags, rather than a blaze of glory, thus signaled the end for one of the game's most gallant competitors. In the haze of a humid Miami morning, Don Shula's 1972 Dolphins were about to embark on a historic campaign. Among those participating in the searing summer workout was a rookie named Larry Ball, number 51. The 1972 Dolphins boasted a deep pool of talent that never ran dry, and Ball got into the swim of things by proving his mettle on Miami's aggressive kick coverage unit. As a linebacker, Ball perhaps was the least known name on the renowned no-name defense, and others produced the big plays that enabled Miami to make history. A triumph in Super Bowl VII gave the Dolphins the only undefeated, untied season in modern NFL annals. Basking in the rarefied air of perfection was a heady experience for a young rookie.
I didn't know how to react after a game for almost a year and a half because the Dolphins didn't lose in my first year, 17-0, and I kept waiting to see how pro players would react when they lost.
In 1976, as a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Ball would never know how to react to a win. Number 53 is about to be reflected in the perverse mirror image of history.
I went into it optimistic. I had others tell me we wouldn't win too many. I even had Pat Toomey tell me we wouldn't win any, which unfortunately he was right. We ended up 0-14. The year just seemed to drag so much longer. Week after week, you just ask yourself, how did you lose that one? You know, when are we going to get the one break? When is the ball going to bounce the right way, or the call going to go the right way, or are we just going to execute?
Ball became the only NFL player to experience a season without victory, as well as a season without defeat.
I was an average ball player. I was very, very fortunate to be a part of the Dolphins, and sometimes I think I was fortunate to also be the part of the Bucs. It's helped me. I know I can go no lower than that, but I know I learned things from it.
The bottom of the pile and the top of the heap. From these two distinct vantage points, it is possible to see pro football from the same strange but true perspective.
They say that life is lonely at the top, and very often life is also loony at the top. For the demands placed on authority figures can induce certain personality quirks which one might term a trifle odd. Winston Churchill, for example, insisted that his bed sheets be changed 3 times a day, while Lyndon Johnson occasionally held top-level policy meetings in the White House men's room. The job of NFL head coach is a rigorous, pressure-packed position, one in which a passion for winning can blur the distinctions between intensity and eccentricity.
The Chicago Cardinals of the 1950s rarely won, but they never failed to entertain. The fabric of their play was frayed and torn, for they were cut from the same odd cloth as their head coach, Joe Steidar.
He had a very unique way of paying us. He'd bring in a fistful of brown envelopes, which contained our paychecks. And he would have seen the game films, and he would write a little note on each player about his performance in the previous game, such things as, I always thought you had no guts, and now after watching the film, it's confirmed. And I remember once we had to play the Bears, the last game of the season, and he came storming in the door of the dressing room, threw the checks across the dressing room. They scattered all over the floor. He told us to fight for our own checks, and he says, if you guys don't beat the Bears next week, I'm not paying any of you. I'm finding you a game salary. Well, that's the only game we won that year. We beat the Bears at Wrigley Field 24-10.
In the rousing, firehouse style of play that characterized the decade, the Cardinals were a 5-alarm fire, torching defenses with all kinds of bizarre plays. Even though the team was player poor, management decided to rid itself of the one man so rich with talent.
The Cardinals traded Ollie Matson to the Los Angeles Rams for 11 ball players. Of the 11, 9 had to be classified as garbage. Absolute garbage. I think 6 or 7 of them never showed up because they were real dogs.
While Matson left town with a broken heart, Dan Devine broke into Green Bay with a bang in 1971. In his first game as head coach of the Packers, Devine spent most of opening day deftly avoiding sideline collisions with various members of the New York Giants. Devine congratulated himself for dodging the bullet, but in this game of Russian roulette, there was still 1 round left in the chamber. On a freak play, Devine broke his leg and became the first coach in modern times to suffer an injury during a football game. Carted off on his shield like a Roman general, Devine's first campaign seemed over before it began. Devine returned to coach the Packers the next week, but more hurtful to him than his broken leg was the pain of a losing season. Pain and losing were 2 things absolutely not tolerated by the Redskins' George Allen.
In one of our meetings, he came in and said that he wanted to win very badly and he was going to prove a point. He'd been taking some karate lessons, and he brought in these 2 guys in their gis, and they stood in front of the rooms with boards, and he was going to punch one board and turn and kick another board.
The boards that he had been breaking were kind of like spongy, and somebody changed boards on him. And he got the group up, and he got in his best karate stance, and he whacked those boards. You know, naturally they didn't do anything. His hands started bleeding.
I mean, everyone knew he was dying, and the tears, but he didn't stop talking. Everyone, to have something like that happen, and you would just grab your hand, and you would feel, and you would show the pain. But George really had control of himself, and he refused to do it. He created a situation to stimulate and motivate players.
What it's all about. Just remember this, 40 men together can't lose.
Every time you lose, you die a little bit. You die inside, a portion of you. Not all of your organs, maybe just your liver.
I would never allow myself to be in a position where we would only win 4 or 5 ball games. I would not allow it. I would just not allow it. There's no way that's going to happen. If you have to give blood, and all those guys have to donate their salary to the Salvation Army, that's the type of people you have to have. When we lost 1 in a row, I was excited. I was raring to go. I was on the switchboard operator. Have her do a better job. You give so much of yourself, you tear your guts out, that you don't feel like seeing anyone. When I was coaching, if we lost a game, I went home and ate rice pudding and raisins. I wouldn't accept a dinner at the White House.
Allen was single-minded, a jumble of nervous energy, idiosyncrasies, and obsessions, attentive to the smallest detail.
George used to run after every practice. I can remember the press waiting to talk to him, and the practice would end. We had long practices, very long practices, and he would start on his track that he had put in. He had his own asphalt track, and he would run along the trees that he had labeled as well, so that you knew that was a pine tree and an oak tree and a dead tree.
We went to play the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay, and George had this way about him that if you went to play in a stadium that we hadn't been to before, everybody would go. As soon as you landed on the airplane, you got on buses, and before you checked into the motel the day before the game, you'd ride to the stadium. And everybody was supposed to get off the bus and walk in and look at the stadium. Pulled up to the stadium, no one was there. It was on a Saturday afternoon. Wind was blowing, cold as the devil, and there was trash all over the front of the complex. And the first thing, George, see why they don't win? You see why they don't win? They can't even keep their facility clean.
Was there more madness than method to George Allen? In his 12 NFL seasons, he never had a losing record. Strange, but true. In pro football's strange but true dimension, the personality parade includes those who experienced odd transformations. A unique metamorphosis enabled Dallas defensive lineman Larry Cole, number 63, to reveal his star quality. Whenever the Cowboys conducted their heated rivalry with the Washington Redskins, Cole, always a steady team player, turned into a spectacular force of one. As a rookie in 1969, Cole scored touchdowns in 2 separate encounters with Washington. This rivalry brought out the beast and the best in Cole. In 1970, his 3rd touchdown against the Redskins provided further evidence that something astounding was taking shape.
The first 3 were consecutive, which is unbelievable just to think of that. By the 3rd time, it really was strange. And, by that time, it was kind of like, wait a minute, this isn't real, this isn't happening. The first one, it was like he's a rookie and he got a touchdown. It's like, gosh, great, we needed it and we got the touchdown. And the second was, wait a minute. And the 3rd one was, you've got to be kidding. I remember Tom Landry just shaking his head. He said, I don't know what you're doing, but just keep doing it. And from that point, then everybody expected me to score. And then for that, it took me at least another, 11 years to get it back and doing it.
Kruzak has it. No blitz coming. He is hit. The ball is intercepted by Larry Cole. Here's the Cowboys defensive tackle with a touchdown. Larry Cole has done it again. 44 yards for the guy who has made a specialty of scoring against the Washington Redskins. Cole Bubber ends an 11-year drought. He hadn't scored against them since 1969.
When I got back to the press room, when I got up in my perch like I was king for a day, and the first question was, well, why hadn't you scored earlier? And I said, well, anybody can have an off decade.
Adrian Burke manifested 2 very distinct personalities during his pro football career. In 1954, the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback equaled an NFL record by throwing 7 touchdown passes in a single game. Burke eventually became an NFL official, a professional turnabout that propelled him toward a date with destiny. At Minnesota's Metropolitan Stadium in 1969, the Vikings' Joe Kapp also threw 7 scoring passes in a single game. Since that day, this remarkable record has neither been equaled nor surpassed. But what made Kapp's effort truly unusual was the makeup of the officiating crew. One of its members included a man who experienced a similar brush with history 15 years earlier. a man named Adrian Burke.
While Adrian Burke was a hero who became a bystander, our next tale is about a bystander who became a hero. The theme of the double is a staple of fantasy fiction, but as a matter of fact, there exists within all of us a hidden personality that waits to escape when a strange circumstance presents itself.
How many stagehands have experienced dreams of taking center stage and stopping the show? In the dead of a New England winter, one such dream came true. Frostbitten Foxborough Stadium had been transformed into a white wasteland, and when the Miami Dolphins arrived to play the Patriots, this elite unit suddenly found itself on Skid Row. Come game time, the place kickers of both squads were stymied by the slick turf, and a scoreless tie existed until the final moments. Then, Patriots head coach Ron Meyer called on an unexpected source to set the wheels in motion for victory. Snowplow driver Mark Henderson, a convicted burglar employed at the stadium on a weekend work furlough program, rode to the rescue. In the process, he drove Don Shula crazy.
I should have somehow stopped the action, but I was bewildered. I really was bewildered about what was happening out there on the field in front of my eyes. And if I had it all to do over again, I would have run off the sideline and thrown myself in front of this tractor and prevented it from sweeping that place clean for the field goal kicker to kick the field goal through to beat us.
Henderson cleared a path for a field goal that gave the Patriots a 3-0 triumph, an outcome the Dolphins still regard with icy disdain.
That kind of thing should not occur as a result of somebody putting a snowplow run by a convict with a day off from prison.
Where else but in the nebulous nether region of pro football could a hired hand be transformed into a hard-driving hero?
Something magic happens when the circus comes to town. For under the big top is where dreams come true. But every circus has its sideshow too. A dark nightmare alley where the curtain is peeled back slowly to reveal the garish and the grotesque. Take a long, cold stare, but be warned. What you see will remain with you until the day you die. Pro football's shiny stadiums and daredevil heroes recall the glamour of the big top, and the game offers an outlandish sideshow as well.
Every Sunday, they line up for the football sideshow, enraptured by the spell of the Barker's voice. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Hurry, hurry. One ticket admits you to a world of thrills, chills, and spills. See the NFL's Elephant Man. Fix your gaze on the amazing one-eyed quarterback. Feast your eyes upon bizarre pagan rituals.
We had a ritual before a game one time. We only did it once. We did it before one game where we all got lined up together and we pricked our fingers and put blood into a bowl. And we were having a tough time, and of course the coach was talking about unity and getting together, and the idea was good. But when you look back on it, it's a little bit weird. But we put the blood into the bowl, and as we went on the field, then we all dabbed our finger into the bowl that had all the blood in it, and we also went out and got the heck beat out of us that day. Everybody was blaming because we were too weak. We lost so much blood.
When the 49ers' Bob St. Clair dipped his fingers in blood, it meant that mealtime was at hand.
His grandmother taught him to drink blood. And of course, you could get it in those days. There were 3 or 4 stockyards around here in San Francisco. So he'd drink a cup of blood a day, from the butcher. And he got to be known as Geek, like the guy that
supposed to eat anything in the carnival.
Tommy Thompson devoured defensive coverages with his pinpoint passes. But the Philadelphia Eagles' standout was a football anomaly, a quarterback with only one good eye. Yet in 1948, he was the NFL's top-ranked passer, despite a limited point of view.
He had cataracts in his left eye, and it came from a blow with a javelin when he was in high school. As a result of this, he was handicapped. He had one bad eye that he didn't see too well out of.
Performing in the football sideshow requires guts, and one of the biggest guts on the Midway belongs to William Perry. In 1985, the Chicago Bears drafted the 330-pound Perry as a nose tackle. But incredibly, he earned fame as a running back. When Perry made his debut as a bulky ball carrier, it seemed like a joke with a paunchy punchline. But the Bears were serious, and the man known as the Refrigerator warmed up to his new position.
For the go-ahead score, in motion Moorhead to the right side. Hand off to Perry, crushes the right side. Touchdown! Look at William Perry doing the high five. All right, here's Jim McMahon barking out the signals. Perry in motion to the near side. McMahon fakes the hand. Fires the right side. Oh, my God! The legend continues. William Perry.
Perry's fame, like his waistline, spread far and wide. Everyone wanted to be just like Fridge.
Of course, you know, we have free membership in the Fridge Perry fan club for those who weigh over 300 pounds. And what is that number up to?
Right, and that's still growing, too. We're getting, 3 or 4 of those with every batch of litters. And we have 138 right now.
138. And the heaviest person is...
Yeah, still the first guy, in fact. Dennis Kemp from out in East ND at 420. Still
420 pounds. Man.
Refrigerator Perry, he's my main man. If he can get us to the Super Bowl, nobody cares. I said S-U-P-E-R, Super Bowl.
In Super Bowl 20, the Bears rolled to an easy victory. And the rookie with the big stomach found the soft underbelly of New England's goal line defense. A touchdown, and subsequent commercial endorsements put Fridge and his family on Easy Street. The William Perry phenomenon demonstrates that in pro football's strange but true sideshow, the grotesque can become glamorous, and the utterly bizarre can seem as normal as a suburban neighborhood.
During my film career, I've unleashed the Tingler and unearthed the tomb of Ligeia. Did you ever get the feeling that life is like a record stuck in the same groove? Or perhaps you were hiking through a sun-dappled forest when it suddenly dawned on you that you were hopelessly lost. You became disoriented, panic set fire to your brain, and you clawed desperately at tangled vines in an attempt to find your way back. Then a clearing was sighted, and you uttered a sigh of relief. But that sigh quickly caught in your throat with the frightening realization that you had merely returned to the exact same place where you first lost your bearings. Well, our next strange but true football story is about traveling long distances on a treadmill through a maze that leads to a place where achievement is nothing but a mirage.
In 1972, Dave Hampton accomplished a feat that no other running back in Atlanta Falcon history had ever achieved, a 1,000-yard season. Hampton, number 43, was a swift and slashing runner whose explosive bursts netted him 930 yards through 13 games. He gobbled up the remaining 70 yards in the last game of the year against the Kansas City Chiefs. In a warm and touching ceremony, Hampton basked in the glow of a running back's highest honor. But a sudden rash of injuries forced Hampton to re-enter the game late in the fourth quarter. A 5-yard loss left him with only 995 yards. One play erased 1,000 yards of footprints and eradicated Dave Hampton's imprint on football history. Strange, but true. The Miami Dolphins have rarely fallen short. In fact, in their first game, the opening kickoff was returned 95 yards for a touchdown by Joe Hauer. The dramatic score unleashed a roar of victory that has lasted over 2 decades. The only other new franchise in NFL history to score on its very first play was the New Orleans Saints. John Gilliam's touchdown was full of sound and fury, but alas, signified nothing. For 20 years, the Saints had yet to enjoy a winning season. The Saints have come marching into everything but victory. Stumbling, bumbling, and crumbling, offering up 20 years' worth of futility and follies.
Well, we picked up a punt returner. We were in bad need of one, and from Oakland, and he came in on a Saturday. He had just been released, and we had a game that night, so they just took him straight to the Superdome, and he didn't really have to learn any plays or anything, so he was going to catch punts that night. And he had a parrot on his shoulder when he came in and started meeting some of the guys. It was a beautiful parrot, and it was a little peculiar, but he's supposed to be a good return man, so what? And but I was just noticing, I was wondering what he's going to do with that parrot during the game, and we have nice dressing facilities there and a nice kind of a little cubby up in our lockers in the dome. And he's put his parrot up there in the locker, and someone asked him, was it just going to leave it there the whole game? He said, sure, he'll just sit there the whole game. Well, he dropped the first punt, and they never put him back in, so obviously he was going to get the axe. It was a one-night stand in New Orleans. When we went back in the dressing room after the game was over, that parrot was dead in the locker up there, just laid out.
The shame of defeat. The endless parade of losing seasons appeared to end in 1986. New Orleans was no longer the birthplace of the booze, and the Superdome rocked and rolled to the sounds of Saint victories.
1st and 10 from the 27. They'll sweep it to this side with Mays. He's going to reverse his field at the 30. He's got room around the far sideline. Wilson's going to throw a block. Mays is going to go all the way for the touchdown.
We're going to be the first team to ever have a winning season in New Orleans, and I think that is something, obviously, that'll go down in history, and so I would like to be a part of that.
But history so often repeats itself, and the Saints self-destructed down the stretch.
He's going to continue running. The ball slips out of his hands. It falls backward. It's picked up. The Patriots are going to score. Unbelievable.
Jim, that's buzzard luck right there.
Against the Patriots, they blew a 20-6 fourth-quarter lead and lost. The next week, they had a first down inside the Dolphin 10 in the closing minutes. A touchdown by Reuben Mays was denied by a penalty. Then, Buford Jordan plowed in for the winning score. But the score was wiped out, and so too was the Saints' first winning season. There are games that suggest the gods must be crazy, when results are determined not by strategy, but by what seems like divine intervention. When stadiums turn eerie and dreary, dank and dark, they become a chamber of horrors. Such was the case in 1978 at the Meadowlands, site of the Giants' demise and an Eagle surprise.
Under 30 seconds left in the game. From here on in, Pizarczyk can just fall on the football, and there is nothing the Eagles can do. And Pizarczyk fumbles the football. It's picked up by Herman Edwards. 15, 10, 5, touchdown Eagles! I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I do not believe what has occurred here, ladies and gentlemen. Talk about miracles, folks. I do not believe this one, but it has happened as the Eagles beat the Giants 19-17 before a shocked crowd at the Meadowlands.
Oakland trails 20-14. 10 seconds left. The crowd takes up a chant of defense. Robisky and Banaszak are the backs. Slot right, Branch inside. Bradshaw, Stabler back. Here comes the rush. He sidesteps. Can he throw? He can't. The ball flipped forward is loose. A wild scramble. 2 seconds on the clock. Casper grabbing the ball. It is rolled a fumble. Casper has recovered in the end zone. The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most zany, unbelievable, absolutely impossible dream of a play.
The big thing about that play is just before the play we had a timeout, which was our last timeout. And Ken Stabler came over to the sideline, and we talked about the play, the pass that we were going to call, the play we were going to run. And after that, the last thing I remember telling him is, look, we don't have any more timeouts, so you can't take a sack. So then, of course, he started the play. The rush came upon him, so he started to take the sack, and then remembered he couldn't take a sack, so he just put the ball down.
So the ball was rolling along, and the only thing that came to my mind was just bat it towards the goal line and hope and pray that some Raider was around the goal line. And actually, that's what I did. I just batted the ball towards the goal line. And fortunately for the Raiders, Dave Casper was roaming around the goal line.
I mean, I said, oh my God, here's a football. And I tried to pick it up and run in, but, you know, the ball's bouncing around. So I just made this, I tried to pick it up, and it went kind of my hands and bounced off my knees. And if you look, it was just pure luck, because when I fell down, the ball stayed underneath me. So when that play was over, I was just there. I was the lucky person. I played 11 years, and I had some success. And what do I remember for? Being a fumbling fool at the end of a holy roller.
Madden is on the field. He wants to know if it's real. They said yes. Get your big butt out of here. He does. There's nothing real in the world anymore. The Raiders won the football game. The Chargers are standing, looking at each other. They don't believe it. Nobody believes it. I don't know if the Raiders believe it. It's not real. 52,000 people minus a few lonely Raider fans are stunned. A man would be a fool who ever tried and write a drama and make you believe it. This one will be relived forever.
Another play that will live forever occurred at Pittsburgh's Three Rivers Stadium. What happened there in 1972 became known as the Immaculate Reception. And it offers further proof that while sound strategy can stop the powerful legs of a runner or stifle the strong arm of a precision passer, no game plan has yet been devised that can thwart the hand of fate.
The Oakland Raiders have taken a 7-6 lead in a tough football game that has featured nothing but staunch defense all afternoon. And this crowd is standing, 50,000 of them, seeing their team go behind by 1 point. It's down to one big play, 4th down and 10 yards to go. Barry Bradshaw at the control. Bradshaw running out of the pocket, looking for somebody to throw to, fires it downfield. And there's a collision. It's caught out of the air. The ball is pulled in by Franco Harris. Harris is going for a touchdown for Pittsburgh. Franco Harris pulled in the football. I don't even know where it came from.
Well, the thing about that play that bothered me then, bothers me today, and will bother me until the day I die, is that in the history of football, when a guy crosses a goal line, it's either a touchdown or it's not. They didn't call a touchdown. They didn't know if it was a touchdown. The referee leaves that huddle, which was in the end zone, and he goes over to the dugout on the Pittsburgh Steelers side, and he gets on the phone.
And there's a lot of stories about who he called and what happened. But Marv Hubbard said that he overheard him, and what he actually did, he called the police. And he said, I'm the chief official in this ball game, and how many cops do you have to escort me off the field if I tell you what happened, which was that the ball hit Pittsburgh and there's no touchdown? The guy said, all I can give you is 6 police. He says, 6? Is that all? He says, that's all you get. He says, in that case, 6 for Pittsburgh.
Lost in the telling, buried for years, and now unearthed for the first time is the strange but true identity of the intended receiver of the Immaculate Reception.
Bradshaw comes back to the sideline, and from the moment he leaves the sideline, he's looking directly at me. And I said, oh, no, and I go back to an old cliche that my college coach used to tell me. People remember the last thing you did. I said, hey, I'm going to be a hero after today, or I'm going to be a bum until next year. And he comes back, and sure enough, he calls 66 halfback option. It was my opportunity to be a hero, you know, just to be lifted up on everyone's shoulder. I am looking into his blue eyes the whole time. I know he's going to throw it for me. He ducks, he comes up, he throws the ball. Well, I'll turn to the sideline and
And there's a collision. And it's caught out of the air by Franco Harris.
He runs down the sideline with my hundreds of thousands of dollars that I would have made if I'd have caught that ball and scored. And I'm saying to myself, God, I done blew it.
From out of nowhere came Franco Harris, riding a white stallion down the field, heading up Franco's Italian army, charging under the football, and galloping off into the sunset.
The time has arrived for us to close the book on our strange but true football stories. But rest assured, in the seasons ahead, more astounding tales will materialize. And in the movie business, that means you can look forward to a sequel. I trust that you have enjoyed your journey across the bizarre landscape of pro football. It's been my pleasure to guide you. As always, I remain very truly and very strangely yours, Vincent Price. Shadows cover every patch of ground. Doom emits a frightful sound. An ill wind begins to howl and thrash. The referee does the monster mash. You try to scream, but it's too late. You can't escape the hand of fate. Grim faces regard you with a menacing glance. Slimy things crawl up your pants. A channel that can't be changed mesmerizes you with images that are strange but true.